move on now to our next keynote. And I know when I get the list of the topics that are going to be discussed over the course of a two-day show, there's certain titles that really jump out at me. This was definitely one of them. Procurement Transformation, Building a Success Culture, because we all know how key that is. So let me welcome to the stage Anna Barej, VP of Procurement at Best Buy. A warm welcome for Anna, please.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thank you for deciding to spend your lunch with me. I'm actually surprised we have a few people in the room. And I promise you two things. I will not talk about AI, and I will not talk about tariffs. How exciting is that? But I will talk about people and culture. And before I do, I also want to share something with you guys. I actually really don't like the word transformation. How many times have we heard this word today in this room? 200 maybe? It's a real word and it represents change, but the reason I don't like it is because it means there is a start and there is a finish. There's a point in time where people end transforming. And many individuals on my team ask me, when are we going to be done? And the answer is never. And therefore, we don't like to use that word transformation too frequently. It's literally changing how we think, how we evolve, and changing our culture to be able to adapt to change and to be able to feel good about change. So therefore, I will focus on culture today and just want you to know that this is just my own personal opinion, my own personal experience. I spent 30 years in procurement, strategic sourcing, category management, and there are different ways to do it. There's no one right way to change, but this is Anna's perspective. Am I pointing in the wrong direction? Sorry. Okay. What a week so far. I have one stakeholder who thinks I have no ideas, and another who wants me to keep all ideas to myself. Sound familiar? Yeah, definitely sounds familiar to me. And this is a feeling that I had when I started my career early on, years ago, and it's still a feeling that sometimes creeps over me now. Our jobs are really hard, but guess what? Feeling this is actually a good thing. It means we're challenging, and it means that we're creating a bit of tension, which is actually healthy. But we also need to be resilient in order to be able to adapt and take these quotes that are real quotes that actually, just recently came by my desk, which made me laugh, and be able not to break down, but have this motivate us to move forward and be better at what we do. So this is what we have defined at Best Buy as our North Star and our evolution and our transformation. And I will tell you from my experience, most organizations achieve stage 4 successfully, and they're all sophisticated organizations who do a great job delivering efficiencies and ultimately contributing to their enterprise's operating income. And that's wonderful. Our ambition is beyond that. We want to contribute to growth through innovation. Because what we want to do is ensure that procurement actually is a lever in enterprise competitive advantage. So how do we do that? How do we build a culture that actually gets us to that place seamlessly and organically? I will tell you that first and foremost, these 6 things need to exist. You see talent and culture as one of them, but influence and having the seat at the table, which I actually like to refer to as voice in the room. Just having a seat at the table is likely not enough, but being able to speak, being able to contribute is critical, is very important. Having really great ways of working and partnering with your stakeholders, understanding the process and your role and their role as they come together in partnership. of course, technology. You've heard many people today and likely tomorrow talk about the importance of technology. That's foundational right now. Enablement with great relationships with our supplier partners and actually leveraging them for innovation and influence into our growth strategies. And of course, executive sponsorships. But I will tell you that for me, talent and culture always comes first. If you don't have a strong talent pool with the right mindset and the right culture, it doesn't matter how amazing everything else is. The people just don't have the voice and they don't feel empowered to actually leverage those capabilities to move the organization forward. So I also, sitting in this room for a few hours now, have heard 2 speakers talk about this. And that's also very critical to how I view the role of procurement in any organization. We actually have a very unique position of opportunity. We sit in the center of the enterprise, meaning, if done right, we see what's happening internally at all the different levels of the business, and we can influence and connect the dots for people, connect them together because they seldom do connect together naturally. We also have a job of understanding the industry and the market and our suppliers. Sometimes we connect them to each other, but most often we connect them internally to our stakeholders. Having that position is critical, and it actually is a superpower. I want my team, some of them are in this room, and hopefully some are watching, to truly understand how powerful they are and believe in it and lean in with confidence, knowing what knowledge they possess and what they can do and how they can enable the company. So I'm going to focus a little bit on those superpowers because they're truly the underlining red thread in terms of building that right culture. So what does it take to be a superhero, to be that procurement ninja, as we call it? First and foremost, we need vision clarity. And for us, and I shared that a bit earlier, for us, that vision, that sophistication is at that final stage of innovation leading to top-line growth. That's the vision. The mission is the strategy and the how, which turns into team and individual goals, right? So if you remember the slide I shared with those 6 bubbles, that they're all important, at the end of the day, that's the mission, that's the strategy. Through those 5 key components, we'll be able to accomplish and achieve our ambition. But then, once you have that, most companies have that. Most companies have logos and, kind of their rah-rah, cries, rallying cries. But how do you turn all of that into motivating individuals and individuals understanding their expectation and truly behaving the way you need them to behave to build that culture, right? So I'll talk about that in a bit, but the last thing I wanted to say to reference to this slide is what I believe is also important is every individual on the team, including all the leaders and everybody else, needs to understand and be able to tie enterprise success that they're driving through their goals to ultimately functional success, because now we are respected more, we are that thought partner, we are approached for solutions, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's always individual success. When you talk to people about themselves and what their growth means and how their growth can be achieved and how their personal ambitions can be achieved, and you tie it back, step up all the way to the vision, it starts to connect and make sense. So when we went about our transformation or that change that's now kind of that ongoing sense of purpose for the organization, we quickly showcased a slide that looks like this in terms of how you need to think differently. What is that mindset shift that needs to happen? And without reading into all of this and giving you examples, the best way I think made this real for people is when I use the analogy of being an entrepreneur. Each individual on my team has been told, you own a business. Your business is your desk, it's your category, it is the data that you manage, it is the academy materials that is built in the COE. That's your business. So you have to have that mindset of constantly evolving it, constantly succeeding, and driving more value through it. So you're always transforming to survive in terms of a business, to thrive, and to grow. So if you think about the green movement to the blue side, those are characteristics really of how entrepreneurs think. The other thing that we share with the team, it's okay, now you have the mindset shift. You understand what is expected of you in terms of thinking. But how do you truly behave? What are the expectations of you as an individual on the team, regardless of role that you have, and regardless of how big or small and how young in your career or seasoned you are? Every single individual needs to have expertise in their own role and whomever the stakeholder is that they support. They need to be subject matter experts. And that's actually really important, because knowing that you are the only one in the company, because it's likely true, who knows the most about the topic that you're responsible for, builds a lot of confidence and courage to be able to take more of a stand and be able to influence and lean in with ideas. So expertise is critical. Curiosity, right? To always learn about your area and always have an intent to solution and improve your desk. And have the courage. I touched on courage before. It's super, super important to challenge and be willing to influence. And now, obviously, with that, confidence comes with that. All those things are kind of little building blocks on top of one another. Then the next thing is accountability, of course. We all need to be accountable for the work that's assigned to us. And it's okay if we fail fast and admit that we failed and we learned, but at least we took accountability. The last thing on this list is really my favorite word, and that is initiative. To proactively identify opportunities, lean in. Don't wait to be asked to do something, but truly take the initiative to lean in and take charge. You know, I threw this slide in there because I also think it's nicely ties in everything that I said, where workload distribution needs to occur on a highly successful team. And as you will see, pre-transformation to steady state at Best Buy right now, see how the work is shifting, right? So it's really, really easy for people to focus on execution. Most of us generally are pleasers. We want to be great in providing amazing customer service and experience. So most of us do what we're asked to do, right? Because we think that's how it is, that's the way to success. However, there's a better way to look at it, right? Sometimes you need to provide solutions before your stakeholder, whomever that is, knows that they have a problem. So we're pivoting and shifting focus from the team to be more on self-development, stakeholder engagement, research, learn, ties it back to curiosity, right? And then building a strategy. And that strategy cannot be a strategy for the year. It has to be a long-term strategy many years out that will constantly evolve and change. And then execution truly then happens proactively versus reactively, and less time is spent on that. Oh, by the way, because remember the six bubbles, one of them is technology and automation, which we enabled for that technology to actually take work off of people's desks and pivot them towards more strategic work. Wow, I'm actually moving faster than I thought I would be, so we'll have time for questions. Well, I also think that it's critical for leaders to understand expectations of them. Everything I said before feels like I'm talking to the broader team. And yes, I am, but I'm talking to everybody on the team. But leaders have this additional layer of responsibilities that they absolutely must perform. Otherwise, this may not work, right? So as a leader, if anyone has a team of people working for them, please understand that it's your responsibility to pave the way. right? You are the example for your team, and you need to stick your neck out a little bit further first, and you need to walk through those doors that sometimes feel like they're cold and dark on the other side, and then bring your team with you. Gain champions on top is the second one. Super, super important, at least in my own experience, regardless if it was at Best Buy, McDonald's, Kraft, or wherever. You need sponsorship. We all need sponsorship. I'm actually very lucky to be working in an organization where we have sponsorship at the CEO and CFO level. But if it doesn't exist, then those leaders need to spend a lot of time nurturing those relationships and truly bringing them, investing a lot in them to bring them value so that they can support you at the next step of the journey. Generate aha moments. And what that means to me is always leave your audience surprised. You have a meeting with a stakeholder, tell them something they don't know. Bring them insights they've never had. Give them data that they haven't seen yet. It always has to be a top of mind of what am I going to wow them with. Again, regardless of who your stakeholder is. Mix team talent. That, for me, comes from my own experience. I spent 17 years in one company and then left to work for another, spent 5 years there, left to work for another. And I will tell you, my personal growth has never been greater at those moments of change. And so I do believe that institutional knowledge is critical, and that I love that. So as I think about my own organization, I love to have a mix of that. I love to have people on the team that have been with Best Buy for decades, because they know things I will never know. And those are kind of the quiet whispers in the ear of my ear and others that are newer to really help us navigate the culture and the company. But I also love to bring people in from other organizations, because that's actually where they will come in and challenge. Have you thought about it this way? We've done it that way. This technology works better. For me personally, and any advice I can do for anybody who asks, I will tell them to mix it up. Last thing is also important, but definitely publicly recognize and reward that excellence, right? So everybody else can actually not just watch their leaders and follow in their footsteps, but watch their peers and see what leads to success and growth. And I will tell you, within our organization, because we went through this change and we pivoted to do work more like the way I'm sharing, we had a group of category management individuals whom all were advanced a layer up, tying that back to, remember, kind of that ninja slide with the success, personal success, because their work changed. It actually changed to be more strategic and more critical in terms of value provision for the enterprise. So this is my last slide, and I just wanted to end with the journey and what that means to Best Buy specifically. By no means am I saying we're perfect and we're so sophisticated that we're the organization that is bringing innovation and enabling corporate growth. No, but through all the work that we've done and the level of sophistication that we've achieved, it's been recognized. And what's transpired recently, we were truly asked to lead operating income optimization, facilitation, and governance for the entire enterprise, which means there's a side and component of it that procurement does anyway, right, through efficiencies that we generate. But there's also another side that's more operational, and it's what the business does to build efficiencies in the way they operate. They asked the procurement organization to bring it all together and facilitate it at the enterprise scale. That, to me, is a true testament to the success of how we focused on our own transformation and our own team development. With that, I want to thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
You're keeping me on my toes. That was an abrupt end. I wasn't quite ready for you. Right, we do have time for a very brief question or two, if there are any from the room. We do at the back. At the end of today, I will update you on my number of steps. So if you can remain on the edge of your seat until I tell you that, I'd be very grateful. Here we go.
My name is Anya Aidman. I really enjoyed your discussion and everything that you touched upon. One thing that you did say is to be courageous. I don't think we have a culture that welcomes someone that is courageous and bringing an opinion that might be not welcomed by most. Mm-hmm. So how do you call for that action, and how is it actually implemented at your organization?
Yeah, very good question. So you're right. I will tell you that I personally feel everything that I talked about is hard to do. It seems super simple, right? Because it's just few words on a pretty page with a ninja on it. But ultimately, it is very hard. Anything that touches people and their behaviors and their styles is super hard. So in terms of courage, my advice is baby steps. What we do at Best Buy is we start with courage internally within our own organization, where we have teams, individuals come and present their strategies and their projects in front of the leadership team. So it's still nerve-wracking for people, but we practice within our own ecosystem. And when that comfort level is reached, then we let people take those discussions, presentations, strategies to stakeholders with their leader, then alone, et cetera. So it's a lot of work, but we have it structured in a way where we don't throw people out into the deep water alone.
What a fantastic question, because that for me is a real test of a strong culture if people feel they can ask those kind of questions. So thank you very much indeed. Well, we are up on time, so a huge thank you to Anna Barej, VP of Procurement at Best Buy. Thank you.
Thank you.